6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here. We're out in the yard today with a New Holland L220 skid loader. I'm going to do a quick walk around on this machine, show you some of its features and functions and a couple of things that make it unique in the marketplace. There are two design features that make New Holland's machines a little unique in the marketplace that lead to a little bit better reach and stability than a lot of the other competitive skid loaders in this space. Two of those things are the length of the frame. So when you look at the tires here, you'll notice that there's a little bit more space between the tires and a little bit longer chassis than what is typical in a skid loader. This longer frame design gives the New Holland a little bit more stability than some other skid loaders because of that extra long wheelbase. Another thing that you'll always hear trumpeted is New Holland's super boom design. Years ago, New Holland was the first skid loader company to come to market with a vertical lift design where the bucket goes straight up and down as opposed to a radial lift that will hinge back. Vertical lift machines always will give a little bit more reach than typical, and when the New Holland super boom goes up, it goes up and also comes forward just a little bit, giving it an industry-leading amount of reach. So if you have to get up and over something, you'll find New Holland machines really exceeding in that space. Skid loaders, being at their compact designs, can often be challenging machines to service, and New Holland has gone to some lengths to make this machine easy to get around. So by lifting up the back cover and swinging open the rear door, most of your main service points are right here at the rear of the machine. You can see here that they put some extensions and stuff on for filters to place them at locations that you can easily get to without having to flip the cab and dig around on the inside. You're able to jump the battery, which is located right down here in the bottom corner, by getting a regular jumper cable back here on the side, or when you need to remove the battery, there's an access panel right here on the side of the machine to get to it. Everyday engine oil checks are done right from a large dipstick here at the top. Your air cleaners and everything are right here in the top of the machine, and your diesel fill located right up here in the corner. New Holland's boom designs have always been one of their strongest points. When you look down the side of the boom here, you can see it's a very clean design. You don't see a whole lot of excess hoses and couplers and that kind of stuff dangling off the side. Up here in your main stack, you can see this is a high flow machine with both standard flow and high flow couplers and a 14-pin electrical connector right here up on the front. Again, when we looked at how this stuff is put together, you can see all these things are shielded and covered without hoses and wires and stuff dangling out. So if you're working in environments where you're apt to, say, come through tree branches and that kind of stuff, there's not a whole lot hanging out here on the side of the boom to get caught and stuck. So anytime you're operating a skid loader, the first thing you always need to do is put your seatbelt on. These things typically have a lot of interlocks in them to keep you from starting the machine without all the safety equipment on. So you want to pull your seatbelt across, and the New Holland's going to have a bunch of buttons up here on the right-hand pillar in order to turn the machine on. So you start by pressing a power button that activates all the electronics. Press and hold a start button for 3 seconds to start the machine, and then an operate button here that turns your hydraulics on. Over here on my right-hand side is a hand throttle that I can use to raise and lower the RPMs of the machine. This is a hand and foot model that I'm sitting here as well. Typically pilot controls are also sold in these. At this point, our market here locally is around 50-50 between hand, foot, and pilot. As we continue down the rest of the right-hand pillar over here, we've got lights, indicator lights for turning on your seatbelt, and glow plugs and parking brakes. Parking lights or parking brakes can be set and disabled right down here with the button on the bottom. Lights can be turned and off using the switch down here. On my left-hand side, I've got my air conditioner up here at the top. We have to turn that on right now. It is pretty warm outside. This machine is equipped with a hydraulic coupler, so if I wanted to operate that coupler, I can use the buttons up here at the top in order to release the pins on my hydraulic coupler. I've got an indicator light right up here on the top that you can see turning on and off. That's for my 2-speed transmission, so I can go between high and low. The switch to operate that is down here on my left-hand stick. Many of these machines we equip with beacon lights on the top, so I've got a switch to turn the beacon on and off. 4-ways can be turned on and off if you're traveling in crowded areas. I've got a switch down here for high-flow hydraulics, which I flip forward. You can hear the machine tone change there as the high flow pump is engaged. There's also a switch on this too for a high performance high flow. That's not equipped on this machine, but the switch is there anyway. They use that same switch on all the different versions. The high performance high flow is a very high pressure high flow setup, more so than any other high flow that you'll typically see. And that's really made for some very specific implements and specific applications. So give us a call if you've got questions about that. Lastly, on my left-hand panel, I have the switch to turn on my windshield wipers and my windshield washer. Fairly easy. This machine's got a 14-pin electrical connector on the front, so when I go to operate that connector, I have buttons across here on my controls in order to do that. These are nice, clean control pods. They're not as chintzy as some that you'll find in some cheaper skid loaders. As you go across here, you've got 1, 2, 3. These are going to operate your electronic functions on the 14-pin. You can also have this left-right down here to operate your turn signals. I've got a high-low for my speeds. On my right-hand stick, I've got the lever to actually actuate my bucket coupler. So when I want to do that hydraulic coupler that I was telling you about before, I reach up here in order to, it takes two functions so you don't do it by accident, right? So you reach up here to unlock and then work this rocker switch in order to actually lift the pins out and release the coupler. So with that off, now I can drive back in. Roll my bucket back into place. And reach up here, press the unlock, and then rock this back down, and I can see the pins drop back into their location. Many of these machines will often come through with radios already installed in them. So up here in the headliner, I have a simple AM/FM weather band radio. I've got plugs and stuff for antennas and speakers all pre-wired in the cab, so it's thought through. Some other competitive machines, sometimes we'll see the radios really looking like an afterthought. That's not the case in here. It has its own home right up there in the ceiling where it belongs. So that's a New Holland L220 skid loader. If you have an application for a machine like this, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messick's.com.